For lesson 2 in our expressions unit, we will be talking about order of operations. We can follow the order of operations with math. So the order of operations provides a process, or like a recipe, for simplifying expressions so that all of the answers are the same. So if I solve the problem and you solve the problem, we both get the same answer. There are various ways to remember the order, including PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's just a way to remember the order of the operations. And each letter here goes with the operations in PEMDAS. Okay? Before we start our examples, when we do the order of operations, we can't actually say that M comes before D, meaning multiplication comes before division. They actually go together at the same step, okay? And the same for addition and subtraction. So if you do have multiplying and or dividing, those are always before adding and subtracting. But if you have division written left to right before multiplication, you actually do that first. So for these two steps, you just go in the order that you see them. So step 1 is parentheses. Step 2 is exponents. Step 3 is to either multiply or divide whichever one you see first. Step 4 is then to add or subtract whichever one you see first. So that's a distinction that you may not have made last year the first time you learned this, okay? So for number 1, we're looking first for parentheses. I don't see any, so I'm going to go to step 2, exponents, and I see that here. So I'm going to rewrite everything except for changing that exponent. So 18 plus 6 times, and now this is 4. 2 to the second power, 2 times 2. Okay? Now I'm looking to see if I have multiplying and or dividing. I only see multiplying. So I'm going to copy the beginning and then do this multiplication step. And when I do that, I get 24. There's only one operation left, and it is adding. So I'm going to add that up, and we get 42. Okay? So for number 2, same process. Start with step 1, look for parentheses. I see them. So I'm going to add that 18 and that 6. That's going to give me 24. Copy everything else the same. Step 2 says exponents. We do have that right here. So what we're going to want to do next is evaluate that exponent. So 24 times, and the only thing that changed is 2 squared means 2 times 2, which is 4. And now finally, we just have multiplication. 24 times 4 is 96. So we're just making sure that we go in the order of operations, step by step. For number 3, there are no parentheses, but I do see exponents. So I'm going to write everything and then evaluate that exponent. 7 times 8 minus 5 plus 3 times 4. 2 squared is 4. Okay, now we're going to look and see if we have anything in our step 3, multiply or divide. I see 2 multiplications. So I'm going to do both of these, and everything else stays exactly the same. So 7 times 8, 56, minus 5 plus. Now we have to do the 3 times the 4, which is 12. Everything else stayed the same. Okay, now we have step 4, add and subtract. This is where our distinction comes in. So when you have adding and subtracting at once, you must go just left to right, meaning that the subtraction goes first because it's written first. So 56 minus 5 would be 51. And then add the 12, meaning you would get 63. Okay, so once you have things in the same step, multiply, divide, or add, subtract, go left to right. And for example 4, we do have parentheses, so do that first. That's going to be 20. Copy everything else exactly the same way you see it. And now next we have exponents. I see that here. 3 to the second power, 3 squared, means 3 times 3. So copy it until you get to the part that you are on. And now 3 times 3 is 9. Next up, multiply or divide. I only see dividing, so I'm going to do that next. That's going to be 5, and then plus 9, copy it. And just to add, finally, you get 14. For number 5 through 10, we're just going to find the first operation. We're not going to solve. So for number 5, looking at my order, it's going to be P, E, M, and D at the same step, and then add, subtract at the same step. So I see parentheses, so right away, that's step 1. In number 6, I don't see parentheses, but I do see exponents, so that has to be next. Okay, now for number 3, which is number 7, I should say, is going to be, let's see, I see parentheses, so we have to do that first. Number 8, no parentheses, no exponents, and then I see multiplying and dividing. So remember here, our rule was if you see anything in one of these steps that goes together, you just go left to right, meaning this division actually comes first. Okay, number 9, parentheses right away. And number 10, I don't see any parentheses here. However, because we have this fraction line, there's sort of an invisible grouping that's happening here. We can't do this division until after we've dealt with whatever this top is and whatever this bottom is, based on how this is written. If I were to write this out without the fraction line and put a division symbol, I would actually have to write it like this. So technically, there are parentheses here, and I'm going to say that we should do this top part first, or else we cannot continue on with the problem. So that's a tricky one. 12 through 16. We're not going to do 11 and 13 just to save time, but I will put those answers in for you at the end in case you'd like to see them. So following our order of operations, just write it off to the side here. Number 12. We actually have 2 sets of parentheses, so we can do those at the same step. We just have to be careful. So 12 plus 4, 16. Copy that division sign. 11 minus 7 is 4. So because they're both parentheses, we can do them both in one step. And then just divide, you'll get 4. For number 14, this is like number 10, where we can rewrite it. This line means division, but these are grouped if we turn it into a single line versus being the fraction. So the numerator is grouped, 7 squared minus 13, divided by the denominator, which is grouped, 24 minus 18. So now within these parentheses, it's actually a little more complicated. There's not only one operation in there. If I want to do 7 squared minus 13, I have to go again and follow order of operations. So before I can do that subtraction, I have to get rid of that exponent. This means 7 times 7. So we're going to get 49 minus 13. We didn't actually get rid of the group yet, so we got to keep it. 24 minus 18. Keep it grouped. Now, like we did in 12, let's go ahead and do both of these groups together since they only have one operation inside. 49 minus 13 is going to be 36. Keep the division. 24 minus 18 is 6. And just like in number 12, divide and we get 6. Okay? Now 15 and 16 look almost exactly the same, except for in 15, the exponent's on the outside, and in 16, the exponent is stuck to the 4. So let's see if that makes a difference in our answer. So in number 15, we can do those parentheses first, meaning 10 plus 4. So that's going to be 14. But now that 2 is on the 14, whatever we got from the parentheses, minus 25. Next up, step 2, exponent. 14 times 14. So we get 196 minus 25, and that's going to be 171. Let's see if 16 is the same. So again, parentheses first. Problem is that inside those parentheses, there's actually 2 operations. So before we can do the 10 plus the 4 squared, we have to do the 4 squared. So actually, we're going to do the square first. So within the parentheses, we're following the order of operations so that we can get rid of the parentheses in the larger problem. So it's going to be 10 plus, and this is 4 times 4, which is 16, minus 25. Okay? So now, finally, we can actually get to those parentheses and get rid of them. We get 26 minus 25. Solve that, and you just get 1. So just moving that exponent just a little bit like we did totally changed the answer. All right? So our final 2 questions, we're going to actually put in the grouping symbols, meaning put in the parentheses to make it so that it's true. For number 17, we need to make this answer come out as 24. You can do a little bit of guess and check. So I know right away that if I don't have grouping, the 4 and the 7 are going to be multiplied first. So I'm going to try to cause something else to go next, which would be maybe instead of 4 times 7, what if we had to do the 7 minus the 3 before we could multiply? If we do that, 4 times, now this becomes 4 plus 8, and then we have to do our 4 times our 4, which is 16, add 8, and we get 24. So that worked out. So for number 18, I wrote out the steps of what you would have to do if you just did it in the order of operations, as it is. So first the 5 squared, which gave me the 25. Then I would have to do the 24 divided by the 6, which gave me this 4. Then I would have to multiply, which gives me 36, subtract, which gives me 11, and then add, and that's going to give me 19. If we want something smaller, let's look and see if we can make it so that we're subtracting away more. Because wouldn't it be nice if instead of 11 plus 8, it was 11 minus 8? Because that would equal 3. So to get 11 minus 8, if we go back up to the top, if we put parentheses right here, and we follow that all the way through, they're going to go around this part, continuing still here. And before we go ahead and we do 36 minus, we would actually end up with 25 plus 8, which is going to be 33, 36 minus 33, which is 3. So to get a smaller answer, we increased the thing we were subtracting away by putting in the parentheses as a group after that minus sign. So a little bit of guess and check, and you can find it out.